Power to the truth. This is Margo. This is Tuesday, February 12th, 2019, 4:16 p.m. Pacific Time, United States of America. Well, we have new methane data for today. We've got Saturday as the new day, and yesterday we had Friday as the new day. So we're going to look at Saturday's methane data on CAM's Copernicus Atmosphere Monitoring Services website and into the forecast period through Wednesday the 13th. And then I have an article to share, and then we're going to go over comments, and then we're going to do earthquakes. So it'll be another full report, so sit back and let's see what's going on. So I have the movie loaded up, and this is where we left off at the end of Friday. We were seeing this big release of methane in this Kara Sea to the east of Novaya Zemlya. Oh, by the way, I've got the Arctic view pulled up and surface level for Saturday the 9th. And we saw it coming out to Christmas Island or Christmas Revolution Island or whatever the name of that island is, and then in the forecast period it was going beyond that. We're also seeing release to the east of Novaya Zemlya into the Barents Sea, coming over to Svalbard, and then releasing from the Norway region and coming all the way across and down to Iceland. So that's where we left off with the data, and a little bit being released in the Arctic sea ice. Part of this Chukchi Sea. So let's see what we've got today. It's a little bit jumpy the first time through, but then it will smooth out, as you know. So in the forecast period, we don't see the methane slowing down. If anything, we see it rebuilding here in this Kara Sea. It's quite amazing to see it. And we see, okay, here's another release building here in Russia, and then it moves up, and look how it fans out here. And then see this, once it dissipates, it takes a few days to dissipate, and then another release starts building. So, and this is from the ground. It's coming up from I'm thinking the lakes and the permafrost and who knows what, from the ground there. And the background color is primarily this red orangey color that I've shown over and over. And so when we look at the ledger down here, this is parts per billion, and this red color, this bright red, is 2100 parts per billion, like that bright red there. And the orangey color right below that is 2080 parts per billion. And then this dark red is 2140 parts per billion. And the dark brown that I call black can be, it's a range anywhere between 2160 up to 10,000 parts per billion. And then the green is still significant because this is like this chartreuse yellow green is 2,000 parts per billion. So like that well, the light chartreusey color, wherever you see it, like up here, that yellow green color, that's 2,000. So it's not slowing down at all. And see, here it is at the end of the forecast period where look at this big huge dark release in the Arctic Sea there. And when it's running through the forecast period, you can also see it being released, it looks like, on the island of Novaya Zemlya. And we haven't really see what was right before that, but it's like this island is red too. Now this southern part, look there, see? The southern part is coming back into the sun now as the sun starts coming up in the Arctic. So now watch in the forecast period how this red starts spreading and moving, and see it moves along the east coast of Siberia there, and then it comes out and swirls around over to the North Pole. And it's winter, it's coming up through the sea ice. So I'm going to pause it there. So there's that. And then we'll go to global. And that is so dramatic when you see it spread out, that huge red over the Arctic. When you see it from this view, it's just kind of mind-blowing. So anyway, it's just kind of blowing my mind. So we're gonna put this as a backdrop for the rest of the show. And now I have one article that I'd like to share today. It's short. It's out of Anchorage. It's from KTUU TV, Channel 2, out of Anchorage. And it says, will unseasonably thin ice mean an early tripod topple? So this is from Monday, February 11th. And this is the caption under this picture. This is the tripod with the cam on the tripod to watch the sea ice. The Nenana ice class ends with the tripod tips. Photo of the tripod from 2017. So when the tripod tips, that means that the sea ice is melted and it can't see it anymore. So this is from Anchorage. After a record warm start to winter, Alaska's rivers have mostly frozen over, but thin ice remains. According to the Nenana Ice Classic website, measurements taken January 16th and February 6th show just 16 inches of sea ice. So that's not very thick. That's just a little over a foot. It's a foot and 4 inches, not even a foot and a half. The previous lowest amount during January and February is 21.5 inches on January 7th, 2004. The next measurement on February 4th, 2004 showed the ice had built to 30 inches. So we're past that February 4th time, and it didn't come back any amount, it doesn't look like. So they're at 16 inches right now, or January 6th. Cherry Fornes with the Nenana Ice Class said in an email to KTUU, quote, "We are in fact a little surprised how thin the ice has been, but we are sure that the ice will get thicker as time goes on," unquote. Well, she's optimistic. She also said the organization isn't concerned and the thin ice doesn't change their plans. The tripod will go up on March the 3rd and ticket sale will continue through April 5th as usual. Fornes says they take measurements at different places in the river, anywhere between 50 feet and 100 feet. The USGS took several measurements at about the same time on the Tanana River. An average of those ice measurements recently showed 28 inches of ice, which is 74% of a normal measurement for this time of year. So they're down, which I'm not surprised. So I will leave the link below. I just found that newsworthy, that they're surprised that the ice is so thin at this time of year. So now let's move on into comments. We've got quite a few to cover. So all of these came in under my methane and earthquake report from yesterday. The first one is from Valhalla 56. He says, I liked John Kelly's comment on leaving food for the polar bears. Also, Yale Climate is saying we're being alarmist about methane, that the CAM is so much nonsense, LOL. I know, Valhalla, and I think they need to feed the polar bears, and that's the only way they're going to keep them away from the people. And yeah, and Robin, and about the Yale Climate, there's another comment regarding that too. But Robin Westerner just did a commentary on the Michael Mann video regarding the alarmists, the people who were reporting on the methane and, you know, saying it's so bad and they're being catastrophists and we're being so alarmist and, oh, it's nothing to worry about and this and that, you know. So go over to his Seymour Rocks 97 and you'll see Robin's rant over there. I thought it was really good. So thanks for your comment, Valhalla 56. We appreciate you. Then Sensible Hair says, how long before the bears are replaced by humans? Thanks, Margo. Yeah, well, it's either us or them, I guess. At this point, it's it doesn't seem like people are going to be wanting to save the bears. I mean, if everything's going down, you know, they're probably thinking we might as well just get rid of them because they're going to die anyway once the sea ice goes and all that. So it's sad, but it's sad, you know, but we're all going to go by the way of the dodo bird sooner than later. So I just think we need to be watching and observing and just accept whatever happens for us. So thank you, Sensible Hair, and thanks for being here. Then Nat Morley leaves a comment and she says, hi Margo, I'm still here. Well, hi Nat. Glad you're still here. Love listening to your reports while I'm working. Thanks so much for all your hard work keeping us up to date with the state of the planet. You're welcome, Nat. On the subject of the poor polar bears, as you know, I'm an artist and do lots of designs for cards. Last Christmas, I chose to do 4 polar animal designs and insisted on the printers putting some blurb on the back of each. Explain how global warming is destroying our habitat. On the back of the polar bear design, I put, quote, in the last 30 years, we've lost 75% of the volume of sea ice in the Arctic. Scientists predict there will be a blue ocean event, no sea ice in the Arctic within the next decade. Where will the polar bears go? Unquote. Just trying to do my bit to spread the word. So many customers were totally shocked. The sea ice is the polar bears' hunting ground. If we take it away from them, they have to look for food elsewhere. We owe it to them to feed them, or they'll join the other 200 species we are making extinct every day. Much love from the UK. Well, thank you for your comment, Nat, and I think that that was a brilliant idea on putting that quote on the back of your card, and because that goes out to who knows how many people, thousands, tens of thousands, people will get that card. And whenever I get a card, I always look on the back just to see, what else might be there. And so that's your way of educating the public, and so I applaud you for that. So thanks for sharing, and thanks for being here. Robert Forsyth was chatty this time. He says, too bad NASA does not enlist a computer program and monitor methane release over time and do the math. This might give us some type of thoughts on how this will progress. Well, that would be too practical, Robert. They want us to be in the dark. So, and maybe they do have something like that, but we're not privy to it because we're not part of the priesthood. And he continues, this coming summer is going to be big bad news. Agreed. Considering this process has both the northern regions by methane, the Antarctic is coming to a double whammy. There is a period of time when the tilt of the planet maximizes heat delivered. The ice has already been undercut. The melt season will be huge. Add it all up and it equals an extreme in ocean rise. Look to the Miami coast for that bird in the coal mine. Yeah, and Miami is already experiencing flooding in certain areas daily when the tide comes up. So it's just going to get worse. I agree, Robert. And then he says, thank you, Margo. You're welcome, Robert. And then he continues, the Pacific Ocean currents are bringing extremely warm acidic water to the west coast of the United States. China burns mostly coal, which is the worst. Lots and lots of carbon to the atmosphere. Lots and lots of ocean acidification. This is what the Atlantic will look like in our lifetime. Knowledge is power. Please open your eyes. Yeah, and we've seen that, we've seen the methane coming up over China. It's the worst of any country. And then this northern part of India. But China and this Asia area, and it's it's what it is. And then he has two more comments. The cool below Greenland is meltwater. The hot water is pooling off Gulf water. Yes, it is slowing at an exponential rate. And then the final comment, he says the university melt monitors in Greenland have been cut. Wow. Well, thank you for all of your comments and observations and sharing your information with us, Robert. It just gives us a bigger picture on what's going on, and so that's how bad. If the melt monitors have been cut in Greenland, then it's gotten to the point where it's alarming and they don't want people to know, more than likely. So we'll just keep reporting, and if people have reporting to share from anywhere around the world, we can just bring it here. This is the world classroom, and we're just here all together trying to understand what's going on. Then Nostradamus, aka my friend Dave from the UK, decided to take on the assignment of telling us about the AMOC, which I asked for yesterday. So first of all, before I read this comment, I'd like to thank Dave for going to the effort for putting this post together. It was very informative, and I really appreciate it. So we all need to give Dave an attaboy for this post. He says, "Hi Margo. As you know, I believe in the Gaia hypothesis, in which the Earth itself is a self-regulating living entity. Everything has been nicely balanced since the last great extinction event, which saw the demise of the dinosaurs, with small natural slow variations in climate that animals could adapt to. But now, as rapid human-induced climate change is in full effect, negative feedbacks are coming into play in the planet's desperate attempts to restore equilibrium. One of these mechanisms, which you have recently discussed, is the slowdown of the ocean thermaline circulation, thus reducing the amount of heat transferred from the tropics to the poles, resulting in a net cooling effect in the Arctic and Antarctic regions. This helps sustain the ice and increases snow cover in northern latitudes, therefore increasing the albedo effect and reflecting more sunlight into space. Without this slowdown of the current, I think we would have already seen the BOE or Blue Ocean event by now. If all humans suddenly disappeared, the planet would rectify itself, but our civilization keeps on stoking up the fire, and the positive feedbacks are becoming more dominant, and I'm sad to say that we are way past the point of no return. Now to my observations. The AMOC, or Atlantic Meridional Overturning Circulation, has its sink between Svalbard and Iceland, where the warm water from the equatorial regions descends on the ocean depths. Let's see what he's talking about there. Let's pull up the earthquake map. So he's talking about right up here between Iceland and Svalbard. Right up here is where it sinks. That's what he's saying. Okay, let's go back. Disruption to this process is resulting in a buildup of heat at the surface and can be seen in the hot spots now observed off the east coast of Svalbard. But that's not all. What doesn't go down doesn't come up, and there are effects thousands of miles away at the other end of the plumbing system. For the circulations to work, there must be upwellings of cool water as well as sinks of warm water. One place where there is significant upwelling is the North Pacific Ocean. As the AMOC sink becomes weaker, the North Pacific upwelling becomes weaker also, and this explains nicely the formation of the large pool of warm sea, also known as the blob, which is in turn causing increased precipitation, adding to the albedo. That's my theory anyway. I'll let you get your breath back now. You're the greatest. So let's just pull up Climate Reanalyzer. That might be an easy way to see this. What he's trying to describe. Let's close this one out. So if we look at sea surface temperatures, sea surface temperature anomalies. If we look at that, so what he's talking about is this area between Iceland and Svalbard and how this has warmed up. See how much warmer? This is the sea surface temperature. And with it being like that, then it doesn't cool down enough for it to sink and to create, let's see if we can get Atlantic. Here it is. As it comes down here, it's still hot. So, man, look at that red off the coast of South America. Well, while we're here, look at this, the Tasman Sea, that Tasman Ocean. That's awful. That's totally red and brown. So they're still suffering down there. So I think that's what he meant. Significant upwelling is the North Pacific Ocean. Yeah, North Pacific. So there you have it. That's his explanation of the AMOC and what's going on. So thank you, Dave, aka Nostradamus, for that assignment being carried out, and we appreciate you very much. So the AMOC being out of whack is going to affect everything. It's going to affect the jet stream. It's going to affect acidification of the oceans. It's going to affect all kinds of stuff. And then C. Rutledge says Yale University is essentially denying that methane is a problem per an article on Yale Climate Connections dated February 2nd, 2019. Right. And that's what we've been talking about, that they're denying. They're saying that it's not enough to worry about. But thank you, C. Rutledge. Yeah, that's exactly what we're talking about. So this is why we have to be discerning, and we have to do our own research. Raven Ken says, "Hi, Margo." Hi, Raven Ken. Regarding your where to go for more information question, first I want you to know that I very much appreciate your work on reporting seismic activity along with your atmospheric reports reviews. Well, you're welcome, Raven Ken. I didn't know if people were actually watching the earthquake report part or not. I mean, I'm enjoying doing it. I'm learning a lot. I'm learning a lot more by including the earthquakes. He goes on, one of the mind's greatest assets, even over computers, is its ability to recognize patterns and anomalies of those patterns. If I were you, I would continue to spend my energies doing what you've been doing. Well, I plan to. Climate change and the impacts, including seismic, are complex and not understood. A perfect world would be collect and study data after getting grant funding. Regrettably, during the period of rapid change, the next best or only thing we can do is keep watching, and that is exactly what you are doing. Probably nobody else appreciates more than any true citizen scientist, working in obscurity, driven by something vague but important. I'm driven by God. I'm on an assignment from God. That's what I'm driven by. Because God told me to do this. To help everyone, excuse me, I'm squeaking, to help everyone see the lateness of the hour, and so that we can keep a pulse on things. In other words, yes, there's lots of important info out there that is connected to each other, but you're already covering a huge swath and doing a bang-up job. Keep that focus. As for your audience getting an education, for refuting climate deniers, look up Skeptical Science website, and he leaves a link. And I went there, and I was a little skeptical at first until I started reading it, and apparently this this man that put this website together, it's called Skeptical Science, Getting Skeptical About Global Warming Skepticism. So he tries to help people figure out how to analyze data and articles and things like that to see. But so he is not a denier. He is totally in the loop with everything. But he helps people understand the difference between lies and fact and things like that. I found it an interesting website, and so if people want to go there and look at it, you're certainly more than welcome to. And they also talk about how to talk to people regarding global warming if they're refuting it. So if they're saying, oh, I don't believe that, this and that. So anyway, I found it interesting. And then he continues, as for up-to-date info on current research, but it's understandable, I'm going to plug Paul Beckwith's YouTube channel. He has a huge library on more issues than anywhere else. Not saying he's 100% right, but what he is mainly doing is reporting out on peer-reviewed science literature along with some personal commentary. All videos are kept to 15 minutes. Thanks again for your work. And a lot of people who follow my channel are also follow Paul Beckwith and other people who do report. And I've watched a lot of Paul Beckwith's videos, and I've learned a lot. And so thank you for the comment, Ravenkin, and thank you for the Atta Girls on that, and thank you for the information. And we just have to find our own ways to get the information, and then use our own discernment too, and just keep moving forward with this stuff. And time is so short. I just don't think we have a lot of time to spend arguing and trying to prove this or that. I mean, the facts are we're in big, deep shit trouble. And Guy McPherson has already explained all of that to us. And I'm more along the Guy McPherson line that extinction is coming real fast for the whole planet, and I tend to go along those lines. And when you get into all that other stuff, where you're trying to refute climate deniers and stuff, I think it's just a waste of energy. That's been my experience. And I don't even deal with them. The climate deniers, I don't even deal with them because, I'm not here to prove anything. But if people want to go there and learn how to talk to people who are in denial, they can certainly do that. My focus is just being here, being present, showing the research here day in, day out, and giving you the World Classroom and a place for us to come together and share our feelings and our thoughts in the last few days and weeks and hours. So now let's move into our earthquake report. I have USGS all magnitudes for the last 24 hours up on the screen, and we're seeing an uptick. They're showing 257 earthquakes worldwide in the last 24 hours, so we're definitely seeing an uptick in the numbers of earthquakes. If we go to the 2.5 magnitude and higher screen, they're showing 44 earthquakes worldwide. So you can see that it's been very active, especially with these larger quakes. Like yesterday, it was a much lower number, but it's Monday. The earthquake makers are back at work, and so this is the pattern that we're seeing. So, and they're coming in right and left. They just keep coming in. So let's see what's about to come off the map first. Let's okay, this one, this 2.9, I think I showed this 2.9. This one, I did show this as part of my report yesterday. It's about to come off the map down here in Baja, 2.9 near Guadalupe, Victoria at 5:08 yesterday, 5:08 p.m., 21 kilometers deep. Then the next one about to come off the map is well, we've got I think we've shown these. It doesn't hurt to do a little bit of overlap. We've got a 3.1 near Big Lake, Alaska. That's in the Anchorage area. Let's go back out. Okay, here we go. That's what I wanted. The next one that will be falling off the map at 5:32 is this 4.9 in the Bay of Bengal off the coast of India. And this one came in yesterday afternoon at 5:32, and it was somehow it got posted right after I finished up my report from yesterday. And then we have another one to the east of that, right on this red line, of 4.5 that came in at 12:21 this afternoon, 26 kilometers deep. So two 4.5s right there. And this one is called 218 kilometers north-northwest of Bamboo Flat, India. So that's, I guess that's on this island. So so we got started there. So while we're over here, let's go on over to Turkey and see what's going on. We've got two on land here, pretty much almost on top of each other. There was the first one was a 4.8 that came in today at 9:14 a.m. and then a 4.2 that came in at 9:23 a.m. So 9 minutes apart, and this one was 3 kilometers deep. So 4.8, 4.2, and that 4.8, that's very close to 5. I'm just thinking whenever we see 4.8, 4.9, that could have been downgraded like Dutch Sense talks about, because just to not alarm people so that they don't have so many 5s. Now here in Africa, here's one on land, a 3.9 near Kalimba, Uganda. This one came in at 9:38 this morning, and 3.9, so that's probably not big enough to do any damage, or not much damage. So there's that one right near that Lake Edward. That's an area that we don't see earthquakes very often. Now let's come on around and look at this one in China, 4.5 near Ningir, China. This one came in at 6:49 this morning at 10.2 kilometers depth. And all of these times are in Pacific time because it's easier for me to wrap my brain around my own time zone. Now let's skip down here to Vanuatu. There was one on the island here of 5.1. It says it was 111 kilometers east-northeast of Luganville, Vanuatu. This one came in at 2:53 this morning. Now that would be big enough to cause damage. So, normally we see them in the ocean, but that one was on land next to that red line there. Then as we come around here just north of Papua New Guinea was a 5.1 near Lorengau. This one came in at 1:45 a.m. in the ocean. Then here's one. I think this is Lombok. Yep, Lombok. This island is Lombok, and we've talked about the volcanoes there, and Nostradamus thinks that this area could be one of the places that could blow. So here's a 4.6 right to the east of Lombok, 11 kilometers east of Sambalia, Indonesia. This one came in at 2:05 this morning, right next to that red line. Then moving on up into this area where we saw a whole swarm here the last few days. Here's a 4.5 near Tobelo, Indonesia. This one came in at last night at 6:50 p.m., 35 kilometers deep. And then to the northwest of that, this one is considered near the Philippines at 5.0 in the ocean near Sarangani, Philippines at 1:21 this morning, 78 kilometers deep. So these are both next to that red line. Then moving on up, we've got a lot to report today. Here's one just to the east of Taiwan, a 4.6 near Hualien, Taiwan. Came in at 10:23 this morning, 6.1 kilometers deep. And then another one, this one to the east of Taipei, a 4.5. They're calling it near Yonaguni, Japan, at 8:39 this morning, 12 kilometers deep. I think it's the reporting station that picks it up as to where it's reported in relation to. So even though it might be very close over to here, they're reporting it from it looks like this island. But anyway, you get the idea. Next is this one here in the Northern Mariana Islands of 5.9. That's our largest one so far, near Agrihan, Northern Mariana Islands. This one came in at 4:34 this morning, 130 kilometers deep. 5.9, that could have been a 6. And it looks like it was in the ocean next to that island. So it probably didn't do any damage. But if that had been on land, that would have caused damage. Definitely. Now moving on up to Japan. Here's one in the ocean off the coast of Mito. This one says, okay, 4.3 near Orai, Japan. This one came in at 12:40 this morning. This afternoon, 12:40 this afternoon. 50 kilometers deep, right next to that red line. And then another one up here on Hokkaido. This is part of Japan. On land at 4.2 near Noyoro, Japan. Came in at 6:55 this morning, 233 kilometers deep. That's the deepest one we've seen so far today. Then moving on up, here is one on land in Russia, right there, 4.1. They're saying is 230 kilometers east of Tilichiki, Russia, at 7:25 this morning. It looks like it's in a rural area. So, see, that's up north of Kamchatka, this peninsula where we see a lot of earthquakes. So this one is considered an Arctic earthquake, I would say. Now let's look at South America. And this one, let's look here first. Here was a 4.8 southeast of Easter Island. This one came in last night at 6:55 p.m. Easter Island is up. Where is that? Up here? Yeah. There's Easter Island. So it's a long way from Easter Island. So the reporting station was Easter Island, and then it came in down here on this red line. Then we've got one right on the coast in Chile, right next to the highway, it looks like, that goes along the coast. We've got a 4.1 near La Serena, Chile. We've seen them here before. This one happened at 6:13 this morning, 35 kilometers deep. Then, moving over to the Atlantic, we've got this one, a 4.8 near the northern mid-Atlantic ridge. This one came in at 1:32 this afternoon. Now, while we're here, let's hop over to the Dominican Republic. Now, this is 2.5 magnitude and larger or higher. We have 6 here showing today, and we have one, this red one that just came in, that was a 3.1. So I'll just call them off. 3.0, 2.9, 3.1, 3.4. That's the highest one. That's near Roadtown, British Virgin Islands. That one happened at 3:18 this morning. 2.9 and 3.1. This 2.9 was 101 kilometers deep. That was the deepest one. So let's look at all magnitudes now for Dominican Republic. And we've got 12 here. So we had 6 of 2.5 magnitude and higher. And then we have 6 of under 2.5 magnitude. So down to like a 1.7 it looks like. So there's that. Now, while we're on all magnitudes, let's look at Hawaii next. We've got 10 here today showing up on the map. We've got 1 out here to the west of the island in the ocean, a 2.4, 54 kilometers west of Kaluakona, Hawaii. This one came in at 12:50 this afternoon, 33 kilometers deep. So as I zoom into the island, I'll just call them off now. 1.3, that's up in the Mauna Loa area. 1.6, 1.9, 2.3, 1.7. This one was at 0 kilometers depth, so right on the surface. 1.7, 1.9, 1.9, 2.4, and 1.8. So we saw them mainly in 2 regions, down here in the Pahala area and the other up here in the Kilauea area. So they weren't huge, but it's still showing movement, that this area is still active. Now let's move up to Alaska. And we'll start with this 4.1 near Atka, Alaska. This one came in at 7:59 this morning, 3 kilometers deep. And this is part of that Aleutian island chain. So this was in the ocean. There's Atka, Alaska, Atka Island. So let's move now to 2.5 magnitude and higher. To start with, for Alaska, we'll get the biggest ones first. And we've got 12 here on the map, not counting Atka. So I'll call them off. 3.2, Koktovik. Actually, I'm just going to click around. There's a 3.2. Here was another 3.2. And a 2.9, all at Koktovik. So there's that. Here's one over on the western side, a 3.8 near Shishmaref. This one happened at 11:06 this morning. Then a 2.6 near North Nenana. 3.7 near Anchorage. That one happened at 3:11 this morning. 2.8 near Big Lake. That's in the Anchorage area. That happened at 7:17 this morning. 2.5 near Redoubt Volcano. 3.4 near Anchor Point. 3.5 near Larsen Bay. And 3.4 near Larsen Bay. So those were the largest ones. So now let's go to all magnitudes and check out Alaska. And we've got 70 on the map today. And remember, we've said that Alaska averages between 50 and 100, earthquakes a day. It's a very seismically active region, and they have a lot of volcanoes, active volcanoes in the area, and volcanoes and earthquakes kind of go hand in hand. So we can just see them peppered around. So besides those larger ones, these are all, under 2.5. A lot of them are in the high ones range. So, but it's significant that we have all of these. Here they are. Here's this cluster in the Anchorage area. There's 34 here today, and it's showing movement, and it's a weakening. Every time you have a small one, it's more weakening of the plate. So there's that. Now here's a new one that came in last night, a 4.1 off the coast of Oregon on this western side of the Juan de Fuca plate. This one came in at 7:52 p.m. last night, and so we're watching this area very closely, and because if this shifts or slides or moves, it could trigger this Cascadia fault zone, subduction zone, to move and then cause massive earthquakes all the way down the San Andreas fault line and also moving across. So we're watching this very closely. Okay, I don't see anything reported on the eastern side of the United States. So let's go west. Go west. The only thing I'm seeing up here is this 1.0 near Amboy, and we know Amboy is near Mount St. Helens. Here is Mount St. Helens there, so this was south of Mount St. Helens, a 1.0 at 2:05 this afternoon. That's the only thing we're seeing up in the northwest to speak of. And over here at Yellowstone, I was watching Mary Greeley, and she was reporting on all these quakes over at Yellowstone that are not being reported on the USGS. So, you got to go lots of different places to get the material. Here was a 0.4 at the near the Old Faithful Geyser, Wyoming. This one came in at 4:54 this morning. That's all that's being reported there today. Now coming down into Utah, we've got one right in the middle of Great Salt Lake. We've got a 1.2. This one came in at 9:27 this morning, 2 kilometers deep. Then there was a small one to the east of Salt Lake City, right here, a 0.6 near Summit Park. Coming on down, we're seeing our, this is actually turning, oh my gosh, we've got a swarm here. We've got 32 here. Oh my gosh. We've been seeing earthquakes here at Farron. We had about 5 or 6 here yesterday at Farron. What's the highest one? We got 32. Oh my gosh. And we'll look at the depths real quick too as we scroll. Here's one at a negative depth of minus 0.1 kilometers depth. That generally means that there's magma up in a mountain or a chamber causing the earthquake. That was at a 1.8 magnitude earthquake. Here's a 1.1 with a negative 0.4 kilometers depth. And here's a 1.3 with a negative 1.9 kilometers depth. So that's higher up in the mountain. Here's a 1.3 and with a minus 0.5 kilometers depth. Here's a 1.8 with a minus 6 kilometers depth. 2.0 with a minus 0.5 kilometers depth. That one came in this morning at 4:27. Here's a 1.9 with a minus 1.1 kilometers depth. 1.6 at a minus 2 kilometers depth. 1.7 at a minus 1.5 kilometers depth. And 1.2 with a minus 0.9 kilometers depth. And all the others are under the ground. So let's get that biggest one, and let's get the coordinates and pull this area up on Google Earth and see where this is. A lot of times I don't look at the earthquakes in great detail until I start doing the report. So this was a surprise to me today. So there it is. That's where that 2.0 happened. And let's go to our earthquake with a minus 0.5 kilometers depth. This happened at 4:27 this morning. 35 kilometers southwest of Farron. That's where they're naming it. I don't see anything. Do you? I mean, it just looks like kind of a deserty area with shrubs. I don't think those are trees. I think it's probably, it looks like just like a deserty area with shrubs of some kind. It's near this mountain. Oh, it's at the base of this mountain ridge. What's this? Here's a mine. Sufco mine up here. So I wonder if they were doing something with the mine and they're causing all these earthquakes, but it was early in the morning. I mean, it was really early in the morning. Let's see when these... Well, we had some from yesterday, like 5:41 in the afternoon. Then it went into the night, 6:56, 7:36, and then okay, then at 8:16, 8:20, 8:42, 9:16, 8:11. This was all last night. 8:25, 8:59, 9:08, 9:09, 9:29, 9. No, this is 11. I'm off on these times. 9:16, then 10:11, 10:25, 10:59, This is 11:08 last night, 11:09, 11:29, 11:56, then 12:28 this morning, and then they've just been going all day throughout the day, and the last one was at 2:46 this afternoon. So I don't know. I don't know what's happening, frankly. I'll have to watch Dead Sense see if he talks about this. Let's put in this earthquake. Let's put in these coordinates and see how far away that is. See what that looks like. Well, it doesn't look like it's near any towns or anything. Here's a road, Farm Route 1415. Let's put in one more coordinate. Let's put in this one that was the farthest to the west and see if that'll give us a clue. Oh, that's way farther west, isn't it? So that was the farthest west of all of them. And here's I-70 over on the left. So it looks pretty desolate to me. And that one mine, it looks, look at these mountains, and it looks like just rock. Just like these mountains don't have anything on them, doesn't look like. Just little bitty scrubs. Anyway. Well, that's interesting. Here's a Monte La Salle National Forest. So that one is part of the National Forest. So maybe those are trees. I think the big things are trees, and the little things are scrub and grass, maybe. Anyway, so that was interesting. So we're going to keep an eye on this area, Farron, Utah, and see what we can find out. Old Woman Plateau. That's where that is. Now let's move on down through Utah. 1.2 near Beaver, Utah. 1.2 near Conub, Utah. So Utah had some activity last night. Their earthquake makers weren't sleeping. Then let's move into Nevada while we're here. Here's a 1.4 near Alamo. And then we've got some little ones over this Nevada test site region. Here's one near Warm Springs, 1.4, and so forth. Then some little ones down here in the Hawthorne area. Then Carson City has one here. 1.0. Actually, this is between Carson City and Dayton. Dayton is to the east of Carson City. This one came in at 3:56 this afternoon, 5 kilometers deep. Then up here in Reno, well, north of Reno, looks like an explosion. 1.1 magnitude explosion. Reno Stead Indian Colony. So maybe they're doing some construction up there. This one came in at 2:18 this afternoon, 0 kilometers depth. So right on the surface. That was some blast to cause that. Then right across the border we have a 1.0 near Cold Springs at 3:19 this morning. That's it for Nevada. Then moving across to California, we've got some more up here in the Lassen area. A 0.1, a 0, and a 0.2. So some little quakes in the Lassen area. Let's see, that's it for that area. Then here's one, a 2.1 near Covelo at 5:19 this morning. And now moving down to the geysers. We've got 21 here today, so they pick back up. All fairly small. 0, here's the biggest one, a 2.1 it looks like. And then there are ones and under. Moving on down, here's one right in the ocean to the west of San Francisco on the peninsula there near Daly City. 2.0. This happened last night at 11:22 p.m. 12 kilometers deep. Then coming on down the San Andreas fault line of 1.6 near Gilroy. Then here's a new one, a 2.3 near Pinnacles. That one came in at 4:57 this afternoon. Here's a 3.4. That's getting up there near New Idria. This one happened at 9:27 this morning. Here's a 1.1 near Parkfield and a 0.6 near Parkfield. Then here's a 2.7 near Kettleman. We saw one there yesterday too. And a 2.1 near Alpa. Moving on down. Looks like another quarry blast near Boren, a 1.6 that came in at 4:43 this afternoon. Moving on down into the Southern California area. On the other side of the border, we have a 1.4 near Progreso, Baja California, Mexico. Then for the Southern California area, we've got 42 on the map today. Let's see these larger ones, a 2.7 near Loma Linda. Here's a 1.2 near 29 Palms. Here's, let's see what's happening at Salton Sea. We've got 2 down there. So I'm not going to call all these off. But we still have our cluster down here at Kauai. We've got 29 in the viewing area now. And another cluster here, it looks like, happening. Now let's go over to come up the east side of California. Here's a 1.1 near Coso Junction, 0.9 near Coso Junction. Now we saw that, right. Now, near Mammoth, we've got 13 here. Mammoth Lakes in Long Valley area. I'll call them off. 0.3, 0.3, 1.2, 1.1, 1.1, 0.7, 0.5, 0.3, 0.7, 1.2, and 0.4. So that activity is picked up. And moving on up, we've got 3 near Mono Lake. They calling it near Bridgeport a 1.3, 1.2, and 1.1. So there's those. I think that's it. So let's zoom out and see what else might have come in since we started this recording. What's this? 3.1. This is a new one, I think. At 4:34 this afternoon, near Tierras Nuevas, Poniente, Puerto Rico. It was in the ocean there. Let's look at 2.5 magnitude and higher and see if there's anything else we need to report on. There was a 2.8 that came in near Kodiak Station at 5:10 this afternoon. We saw North Atlantic Ridge. We saw that one. I think that's a wrap. So I do believe we are in the end times. I think that time is very short and that everyone needs to get their spiritual houses in order, whatever that means to you. And I love you all very much. Let's all just be kind to one another. And until next time, God bless each and every one of you. Go in peace and good night.